Hello, everyone. This is Joe Leun, and this is the Execute podcast with Joe Leun. Um, Quick background if you're not familiar with the show. Basically, we're going to be talking with people who are getting stuff done. Um, we want to find out how they're mentally working through their challenges and how are they tactically working through their challenges to get more shit done. Um, and it really doesn't matter what field you're in, there's going to be takeaways that you can bring into your own life to make sure you're able to execute. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. We have a guest today, Matt Puleo. Did I say that right, Matt?
You did.
Yeah. So, Matt, just for the people who don't know you, Matt and I have known each other for a while now. We've been working together in real estate, helping each other out. But Matt, for those who don't know you, just give us a background. How did you kind of get started? Start from zero.
Yeah, basically. So my name is Matt. I'm 26 years old, and I got started in real estate probably in the May of 2021 through an Airbnb. So basically, what happened was my brother, always wanted to buy a condo or a house in Killington, Vermont, and he had a conversation with someone who actually is doing Airbnb in Vermont, and we came to the conclusion basically that this was going so good for this person that we wanted to dip in and try it out ourselves. So he was the one who took the risk and tried it out, and soon after he did, I followed suit, and basically it's been great ever since. So
Hmm.
that's kind of how we started. We kind of just like jumped in. He got his
Hmm.
condo, I got my condo, and so on and so forth. So this is something I do on the side. I work in medical device, so my 9 through 5. And a lot of times it can be more than that, but I call the real estate side the 5 through 9. So whether it's 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. or 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., you got to make it work
Yeah.
somehow. So I think that was kind of something I had enough energy, um, and bandwidth to do, and that's what I kind of been doing ever since. So just trying to squeeze in real estate on the side every chance I can get. So yeah, it's been an awesome ride, and Joe here kind of helped me out get ready and started in the first duplex. So Joe, I'm sure you're going to talk about it a little bit, but that's been great to be able to get into a long-term rental because it's one thing to have good income coming in from short-term rental, but that can be a little more volatile than not. So to have
Yeah.
diverse portfolio is big. So always appreciative that Joe helped me and my partner get in there.
Yeah. Matt, so just even to run it back even further, right? So you're 26 years old. Now, so did you go to college?
Yeah, yeah. I went to Plymouth State University.
Okay. So you graduated what year?
Graduated in May of 2019.
Okay. So May of 2019. From there, do you go directly into medical device sales or?
Yeah. So when I was in college, I probably about my sophomore year, I
Yeah,
knew
what'd you study in college?
I studied in marketing and sales. Right. So
Okay.
I always knew I wanted to be in sales. My dad was an entrepreneur his whole life, and I just had kind of had it in my blood. So whether it was sales, doing whatever, I knew I always wanted to work for myself, or I
Yeah.
want to work as hard as make as much money as hard as I work, if that makes sense. So I
Mhm.
always knew I wanted to be in sales, right? And about my sophomore year, I discovered medical device. I always wanted to kind of be a doctor in the back of my head, but I knew that going to school for 8 years and 4 years of medical school just wasn't for me. I wasn't a huge and going to school. I did well in school, but besides the fact, I couldn't see myself going to school for that long. So I found that you can pretty much be in healthcare and also in sales in the same time through something called like a field called medical device sales, and it's pretty broad. There's a lot of different scopes of medical device, but the more I dug into it, the more I got excited about it. So probably from that sophomore year summer, I did everything I can in order to set myself up for success. Meaning I was reaching out, building my network, and that was probably the biggest thing, the best thing I could have done, which was building my
Mhm.
network and allowing myself to be marketable and attractive, as a candidate. which means that you're willing to go wherever there's an opening, an opportunity. So I
Yeah.
took that and kind of ran. Um, I had an internship in New Jersey, working for a company called Henry Schein, selling dental, equipment, disposables to doctors to kind of get myself ready for the next level. And then when I graduated, I actually took a job in California, Orange County. So I moved all the way across the country
Huh.
to take a job and take advantage of this opportunity that was presented to me. It ended up being
Yeah.
amazing. I was there for almost 2 years. Um,
Wow.
and then I moved back, to the East Coast in New York City to take a different role. So, it's been awesome. But I would definitely say, by opening my blinders up a little bit, and being able to take that job in California really set me up, put me on a good track.
Yeah, so you took that job in California not knowing anyone over there, or did you have some
No,
connections over
nobody,
there?
nobody. It was, yeah. I
Holy
mean, I was
shit, that's pretty
it was
awesome.
yeah, probably the best times of my life. Being over there,
Yeah.
and so far. And yeah, that was the best part of it. Probably not knowing anyone, just kind of going in with like an open mind and seeing where it took me.
Yeah, just doing like a blind leap and just kind of trusting the process there. That's awesome.
Totally.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. So okay, so from there you took a job back in New York City, right?
Yeah. So from there, I moved back to New York City around August, um, like late 2020, and then did a job in like endovascular medical device, which was awesome for 2 years, and a
Hmm.
really good opportunity to step into like a role that had higher, more responsibility, and
Hmm.
with that came other opportunities, and then I was
Yeah.
able to take a job with my current role, and I've been doing that for for a year, and that job is it's awesome, very demanding. I'm on call Monday through Friday, a couple weekends out of the month, so my
Okay.
time management has had to been on point when it comes to trying to get other stuff done, with like real
Yeah.
estate. So I'm not doing that, which is not that often. I need to be delegating it to stuff that really matters. So it's been
Yeah.
a bit challenging and also a good opportunity to grow. But at the same time, it's awesome. I love being busy. I'm probably more busy now than I've ever been in my whole life. And just feel like every week I just get I have to delegate time and take control even more. So
Now, does that get you excited when you get busy? Does that make you feel better or worse?
it feels good. I'm sure you can attest to it.
Yeah.
After a long
Yeah.
day, there's nothing like looking back and saying like, "Well, what did I just do today?" But then you got a shit ton done. I think it's awesome
Yeah.
to to have that feeling. It's like probably one of the best feelings in the world. Looking back and just seeing how much you got done in the day and uh, having it be a productive day. I think that's cool.
Yeah. Those are the best, right? Where it's like maybe you're super busy, but you know you got a lot of shit done. And it's like you look in the mirror, you're brushing your teeth at the end of the night, you're exhausted, and you know you got to wake up in a few hours to do it all over again, but you know you left it all on the table there. Um, those definitely are the best for sure.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
So from you said you bought your first Airbnb in 2021, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Why did you want to buy that?
So I definitely say I would have to say that it was a little bit of an impulse, which is not great to have, but I'm not saying it at all.
Yeah,
It went well, thankfully. But yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of an impulse because my brother was doing it. My first Airbnb, I wasn't underwriting like I am now, but the numbers did make sense. On
yeah,
paper, it did make sense. So I'm glad it worked out the way it did. But the whole reason I jumped in with that because I kind of had faith in the process. I had a conversation with the guy that my brother was talking to, the guy that has been doing this for a while. He just bought condos, 50 years ago, and because he liked skiing, and then it turned into something more. And the
hmm,
proof is in the pudding. Like he had like years and years of great track record of
yeah,
income and of bookings. So it alleviated a lot of concerns. But also, you never know. You can't something like that until you're in it and now I know a lot more than I did back then, and I definitely would have made the decision.
Yeah. So now, the key catalyst here, would you say? Because I mean, the goal of buying your rentals is what? To get yourself out of your W-2, or
I wouldn't say that just because I really do love what I do. You know,
yeah,
it's amazing. There's not a day that goes by where I'm like, oh, I have to go to work today. Like, it's
yeah,
I'm
that's
very
great.
lucky, in the position where I like my W-2 so much, but I just, I'm trying to, use that as a vehicle to drive wealth. So down the road,
Yeah,
you know, when it's time to maybe go on my own or start, I always wanted to start my own business, and so maybe when it's time to do that one day further down the road. Right now, I'm just trying to, keep building different types of income. So that
yeah,
is a vehicle that's going to do it for me, and
yeah.
it's been awesome. Yeah, I'm also
Interesting.
like a mini GM. With Airbnb, you there's it's not even real estate. So people, that's like the biggest misconception is that people think Airbnb, you get into it and now you're a real estate investor. I think it's actually not like that. I think maybe the beginning part is like finding the deal, but soon after
Yeah,
you find it, I think any part of it is real estate because you become a like a mini GM. You're managing cleaners,
yeah,
handymen, and the guest. And if you don't, you're giving 20% of your you know income away towards someone that will.
yeah,
And I think that is a lot to give away when the job could be
yeah.
very very doable. So
Hmm.
that is kind of where I stand on that is because you're really testing your people skills. You have to be able to accommodate the guest at any time of the day. And I think if you ask like the average, real estate investor, if they would be willing to, have a couple phone calls a week or, manage handymen and cleaners and talk to people multiple times a week about the same property, they'd probably be a little standoffish just because of the nature of
Yeah,
long-term investing. You don't want to do that. You want to make it so you want
yeah,
to have it set up where you're not talking to people every week. But if you're talking to people every week in Airbnb, it's probably good because you're probably busy.
yeah. So it's like the whole idea of active income versus passive income,
Mm-hmm.
and you're definitely more on the active side with
Oh yeah.
Airbnb, right? Yeah,
Anyone who tells you that Airbnb is passive is either not doing it right, they don't have enough bookings, or they either have like a property manager, which is fine if the numbers make sense with a property manager, and you don't
yeah,
mind spending that extra 20%, then more power to you. I think that would be cool one
yeah,
day to do that once I have a couple other things in the works. But now I kind of like it. I like being in charge of what's happening at my places.
yeah. And now, I know. So you're trying to build wealth kind of long term, and then set yourself up for later down the road. And it's not necessarily replacing your W-2, but what kind of got you down? So it's not so much real estate, right? It's like you went down a path, right? You started trying to improve yourself, whether it's, your medical device sales, or real estate or whatever, or even like fitness, right? Like what kind of got you down the path to say, I need to push myself to do better? When did that really start? Because that could have happened years before. Was it you were reading books, you found podcasts, you started surrounding yourself with people? Talk to me.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that when I moved back to New York City, I probably think there's something about New York City that just makes you want to go. And
Yeah,
I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I've worked for a year or two now. I've been able to build a little bit of money up, pay my student loans off. What's next? Like I always wanted to invest in real estate. I've always talked to my friends about it, but it was just like a you know wrong place, wrong time type of deal, or the excuse I was using. Right? You can make it
yeah,
work no matter what. So I think it
yeah,
just got to a point where there was an opportunity that presented itself, meaning that my brother was doing it, and there was a good deal on the table, and I just kind of ran with it, and I didn't think twice about it. So that
yeah,
was really just the the swing of the pendulum was just the opportunity that presented itself, and I ran with it, and I was like, wow, this is working. And I did it again, you know, and
yeah.
I'm going to keep doing it until it doesn't.
Yeah, no, I get that. And so being around your brother was a big part of that, and that's one thing no matter how many times I have these conversations with people, people tend to lean on the fact that, they need to, once they started surrounding themselves with people who are actually getting shit done, that's when, it's like what you were saying, you always wanted to invest in real estate, but it was always like you could always find excuses for why it's not the right
Mhm.
time, the right place. Um, so once you saw your brother doing it, you could really feel it, right? You could really
Yeah,
put your head around it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Now,
yeah. I mean,
how old's your brother?
he is 29.
Okay. So he's a little older than you, but he's still young.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Now, is that something you and your brother like talk about often? And are you guys kind of sounding boards for each other or what?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a good group of friends. You included that.
Okay.
We just talk about real estate. Something I could talk about
Yeah.
all day long. You can, I can, he can.
Yeah.
Every like if you just get into these conversations and brainstorm, and then sometimes things come up like, oh, actually, I have this I'm working on. Would you ever be interested in partnering?
Yeah.
Or I have this, this flip or this deal I want under contract with. What do you think about it? Is this something you would ever want to do? So just having the conversations, keeps you excited, but also could bring up opportunity, which is the coolest thing with
Yeah.
surrounding yourself with people that are like minded.
Yeah. And people that push you to do better. So when you're, you know, in a rut and you're not really doing good enough, you got the guy on the other end of the phone doing a shitload of deals, and you're like,
Yeah,
all right, maybe I should step it up a bit.
yeah,
Um,
it's always helpful.
so so one thing I want to, so when it comes to what you're doing currently, right?
Mhm.
Um, what do you have going on right now? What does your current portfolio look like? What does your business look like? Talk to me.
Yeah, so we have the one condo and Airbnb, the one Airbnb basically in Vermont, northern Vermont,
Okay.
like the
And
furthest
that's
point
that's
I would.
in yeah, that's Ski Town,
Yeah,
Airbnb.
Ski
Um,
Town,
and then what
Airbnb,
else?
and then we have the house in southern Vermont. So I bought a house for Airbnb in 2021. That
Hmm.
one's doing pretty well. I renovated it and did some construction to the foundation, the deck, and that one's rocking and rolling. So that one's doing good. I bought that one in December of 2022, and
Okay.
then now, fast forward, Airbnb wise, I'm building a house that's currently under construction in the same town as I bought my condo in. The reason I'm doing that because I'm trying to make sure I want everything to kind of be in one place. Not totally, but
Yeah.
I'd like it to have one area have more properties than the other, just because it's easier to logistical wise to get stuff done. And that area
Yeah.
has there's a lot of money coming in, a lot of investments, and I believe in it. So I think that's going to
Hmm.
be a home run. And besides that,
Yeah.
the duplex you sold us, me and my partner Trevor, that one's rocking and rolling down over in Binghamton, or I
Yeah.
should say up in Binghamton. That one's doing
Yeah.
great, and I do want to kind of get some more over there. It's a
Yeah.
it's a good place, and just a lot going on between Airbnb, trying to
Yeah.
build, keeping an eye on that, and then hopefully acquiring more land. That's
Hmm.
the top of my priority. So
Yeah, so you set your eyes on land previously, and we've been talking about that a lot. Like how that how do you go from doing Airbnb to saying screw it, I want to build a house? And are you confident in your ability to build that house, or is it like you're just kind of trusting the process? Do you have people you're leaning on? Talk to me.
yeah, yeah. Well, I guess we're gonna find out. But I do have people that I trust. My builder's great. There's a couple of
Yeah.
local people in the area that do a great job. Of kind of leading
Mhm.
me in the right direction. So I do have boots on the ground over there, even though it's not that far of a drive. You need to have someone there that's gonna be able to look at the place whenever you need it. Um, yeah. So for the land part though, I found that okay, if I want to buy a house, say 2,000 square feet. the house is going to cost anywhere between 600 to 850, depending on the
Yeah.
size, or depending on what it looks like, even the size too, of the land, and the year, the age of the house. But all these houses, I mean, in the town I'm building in, are all like 30, 40 years old. So you're going to spend
Hmm.
this much money to get a house that it's going to need work. You're going to need to put
Yeah.
work into. You're going to have to do maintenance on it. I'm doing it right now with the house in southern Vermont. It's kind of a pain sometimes with the amount of stuff I have to fix and have looked at. Just the pains of owning an old house. Right, it happens all the time, no
Yeah.
matter how you spin it. So I thought about that and I said, okay, well, if I can buy land and build, I'm ultimately going to pay the same amount and even cheaper, but now have a brand new house and be able to build it how I want. Um,
Yeah.
and there's a couple things that you need to make sure, which I found out now, like that you have to do before you even step foot in construction, which is making sure the land is buildable. So
Yep.
before I started, it really didn't occur to me that you had to obviously take the right steps to make sure the land was buildable. I mean, I did have the idea, but it goes much deeper than on the surface. There has to be the wetlands have to be delineated. So there's a lot of people that have to be involved in order to make sure the land is buildable. So I bought a piece of land
Yeah.
that already had a wastewater permit. So I wanted to make it easy for myself the first time around. And
Yeah.
which that means is the land's already buildable. It already has a permit in place to build
Yeah.
X amount of bedrooms, um, and already has a septic permit, all that good stuff. So if you have a piece of land you're looking at, always make sure that it has approved plans, and the
Hmm.
town signed off on the land being buildable. So I mean,
Yeah.
even at the little more expensive price point I got the land at, it's still going to make much more. It still made much more sense to buy a piece of land, build on it, and then depending on what exit strategy you want to do, hold it, sell it, then buying an old house, right, and then renovating it.
Yeah.
And it
So
was,
can you give like a rough kind of idea of numbers? I know it might be a little hard, but like round ball numbers. Can we hear that?
yeah. So the land was 155. Bought the land,
Okay.
155, probably about
Now, how did you finance this?
all through. So financed 25% down through land loan. So that was the first course of action.
Seller finance 25% down.
No, just from like a mom and pop bank, local bank.
Okay.
They have like a land product, so land loan, right?
Okay.
So 25% down, and I probably paid like maybe like 30 or 40 over like the average 1 acre selling price, which kind of lands around
Hmm.
100,000 in this town in Vermont. So it has really good views though, right? So it kind of like
Uh-huh.
outweighs if it really goes into the appreciation and the value of the home. Not many houses over there have those type of views, so um, that
And also you got the permits already on the property,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Permits were already on it, which was really helpful. Looking back, it's not as big of an issue as I thought it was, but doing it the first time really made a huge difference,
Yeah.
right? So all in,
Yeah.
the land 155. Yeah, I probably add about 6,000 to 7,000 for closing costs. So
Hmm.
I think my entire payment for the first loan was about 40, say 40 grand, probably a
Hmm.
little more than that, but we'll call 40. And then now I have
Yeah.
the land, which is being paid off by land loan. So I go to the bank. I go, hey, these are my plans. I want to build a house. So the bank goes, all right, we're going to give you. And this is probably the hardest part of the process so far is finding a bank to loan on appraised value. Because if a bank doesn't
Yeah.
loan on appraised value, and the house costs just say like $1 million, you need to come up with whatever their down payment's going to be. So
Yeah.
if it's you need 10%, you can come up with an extra 100 grand. And obviously, being in real estate, the less you come out of pocket with, the better. That's the whole goal of this.
Yeah.
So I was able to find a lender that'll lend it on appraised value. Okay, so once I found that lender that'll lend on appraised value, I got the appraisal with the plans. The appraisal came back at 800,000. So I was able to use 70% of the appraised value, which more than
That's
covered
crazy.
my construction cost, which was 450, and my existing loan payoff, which was 118 or something. 16. So
All right, so to quickly break that down. So you bought the thing for 155, you got a land loan on that, and then you went to lender number two and you're like, let's get a loan for the expected appraised value after this thing's built,
yeah,
correct?
yeah. So appraisers will go in
So
there.
they give you a loan for 800.
Yeah, exactly.
And well, you got 75, you got 70% of 800,000.
Yeah, and I didn't take the whole thing. I only took what I needed, which
Okay.
was one. It was about like 610 grand.
So 70% of 800,000 times 70% is 560. So how does
No,
that?
actually, I think it's 80 because I know for
Okay.
well, let's just say this. I used This is where I need to be better on
That
my
would
math.
make more sense because it would be 640 back.
Well, no, I think it might be 80 because I only had to pay off. I keep remembering I only had to pay off my existing loan, which was 116 plus 455. All right, that makes sense.
Okay.
So if you do
Yeah.
116 plus 455 is 571.
Okay.
That makes more
Okay.
sense because I kept thinking about the fact that I had to pay off my whole loan or my whole land, but I already bought 25%. I had 25%
So
equity.
your cost to build is what?
I would say we added a couple buffers in there, so
Okay.
it's a really rocky area, and I wanted to make sure that wasn't going to come out of pocket $10,000 if we ended up hitting bedrock. They call it ledge.
Hmm.
So we added an extra $10,000 for an emergency uh, fund if we hit ledge,
Yeah.
and then we added an extra 10 grand for a hot tub and so on and so forth. So everything came out to 455. Probably could have got it down to you know 440, 435, 445 if we didn't have these kind of extra items in there, which I don't mind because obviously it comes out of the loan at a decent rate for the time being. So I think that's
Yeah, I mean that's not a bad play at all. I mean, you're all in 155 plus uh what was that? About we said what?
455.
465 you said?
Yeah,
455.
yeah, 455.
So plus 155. I mean, you're all in for about 610 and you got to praise that 800. That's not a bad play.
No,
Not
no,
a bad.
and
I like it.
yeah. So automatically you have that equity in there. It's only going to appreciate more, and the numbers make sense. So with this, I had a couple exit strategies of mine, and we talked about this. Joe, I bounced this off you like, probably
Yeah.
6 times, more than that. My exit
Yeah.
strategies were one, buy the land, clear it, put a septic and a well in, and sell it. See if it made sense.
Yeah.
Now the
Yeah.
price point I had it at, I don't know if I would have made money. I didn't want to do that. That was more of like an emergency sell, or I could have cleared the
Yeah.
land and then sold it, and I definitely wouldn't have made money doing that. Or I could have put the foundation in, got a rendering,
Mhm.
and I could have sold the plans and said, I have a builder, I'll be your GC,
Mhm.
and we'll build this for you however you want.
Yeah.
And sell it
To
at
like an end user.
yeah, and sell it at the end like the ending price is 750 or whatever what was going to it could sell at. I don't
Yeah.
know what it could sell at. 800 would be nice, but I think that's more wishful thinking, right? Like mid sevens
Yeah.
would be where I could sell it at. Or the other one would be buy it, hold it, and rent it out for a year, and really pump the numbers up. Right? I've had good success at making listings busier with different
Yeah.
various platforms like Price Labs and all this stuff that kind of boost your ability to get bookings just based off like a competition in the area. So
Hmm.
you can either rent it out for a year, show very good rental income and stability, and then sell it based off that, or build it, and just flat out, flip it unfurnished and say, hey, put everything you want in it. I'll save money, time, and get it out of there. But I'm leaning towards like keeping it, buying and holding it unless something changes. I
Yeah.
want to be able to, take advantage of the situation and the rate I got. Who knows how long rates are going to stay the same? I locked in a
Yeah.
5.8 interest rate for 30 years fixed.
Not bad.
No, not bad right now,
Not
especially like I
not
got
bad
right
at
at the
all.
buzzer before I went up. So I mean, I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah. I think I just got like a 7.5, something like that, if not even
Yeah,
higher.
I know it's getting
Um,
ridiculous up there.
especially, I mean, someone like you who's doing a lot of different things. I mean, at a certain point, those loans just get more and more higher interest rates. Those lenders get more and more predatory. They're like, oh, we could charge this guy 8%. He can't go anywhere else. You know?
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting, and I keep thinking about too. My the debt to income ratio might be squeezed soon because they
Yeah.
need at least 2 years of tax returns. Some lenders need 2 years of tax
Yeah.
returns to count Airbnb income, as income. So
Yeah.
this place, right, it's a pretty big nut. So I'm gonna have to wait 2 years after it's built for it to be taken off my DTI. So I'll probably
Yeah.
have to get creative. I already started talking to some private funds and that lend in Vermont, and they do
Hmm.
construction loans. They do 30-year conventional or 30-year investment loans. So I'll definitely have to get creative soon, but I'm not gonna probably think about that until I have like I actually am in that position because I think I could squeeze out a
So
couple
you're
more
maxed
loans.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Um, so after, I mean, like you're doing this, I know you started getting more into wholesaling a little bit. You're trying to get into that space. You're focusing a little bit more on land. Talk to me about that. What challenges are you having and how are you working through them?
yeah. I would say just the matter, just having obviously like this being my side job is
Yeah.
that's probably the biggest challenge. My priority is my W-2. Um,
Yeah.
that's what I signed up for, so it's going to be my priority until it's not. So
Yeah.
which means it's going to be my priority until I don't do that job anymore. So I just have to be really aware of that and being able to manage my time correctly. That's probably my biggest challenge. Yeah, I can only do so many things at once. I really wanted to wholesale.
Yeah.
I am going to wholesale. And I really wanted to get it going, a month or two ago. But then I was able to start really making progress on this list I pulled for land. Um, Now I'm trying to source off-market deals for land because I see how valuable building can be. So that is now taking
Yeah.
my energy and time away from what I would have, been wholesaling and doing it. But I mean, I'm still going to do it. I'm going to hit probably South Florida and Arkansas. That's going to be
Yeah.
my go-to. I have boots in the ground in both locations. I think it would be awesome to kind of tie both of those people I have in there into
Mm.
that that realm I'm working on. So
Yeah. And now why those states?
probably because the amount of help I have there. I know
Yeah.
just Florida's doing well, um, and there's room for opportunity in some certain areas. And then in Arkansas, um, my my buddy I met in California, him and his brother are doing pretty big things over there in Little Rock, and just
Hmm.
from hearing what they say, how they talk about it, there's a lot of money to be made. So I think in some of these neighborhoods that are underdeveloped, wholesaling can be huge. It can be big, and it can help you make a little bit of money, but also acquire some long term deals. That's my goal with wholesaling. I don't want to be like a master wholesaler. You know what I mean? Like I want to have a really good idea what I'm doing, but I don't want to be the number one wholesaler in the country. I want to be able to make enough wholesale enough deals where it's paying the bills and then of the all my back end work, and then eventually find one or two smoking hot deals I can keep for myself. That's my goal. You know.
Yeah. to have, I mean, basically that's the bottleneck though, is like the deal flow, the pipeline. If you can keep that pipeline steady and master that pipeline through wholesaling,
Mhm.
then it's like once you get that down, then you could focus on the rentals and everything else when that gets uh, controlled and is very easily measurable, right? And it's consistent. Um,
You
that's
know what I was thinking
basically the
about?
way I'm shifting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
talk to
This is
me.
what I was thinking about the other day. So I always think like when you're growing up, as a teenager or whatever, everyone should have a little job in like hospitality in like
Yeah.
business, like restaurants, right? So
Okay.
like waiter, bus boy, a bus girl. It teaches you so much about just like the basics. Like your first job. My first job was a bus boy. Everyone should have
Yeah.
their first job be like something along the lines of that. I feel like if you want to get into real estate, being like
Yeah.
starting out in wholesaling is the same. Like you learn. I should have did this 3 years ago. The amount you learn just from wholesaling, it's like the basics. You learn how to source the deal, you learn how to negotiate, learn how to close it, and also you
Yeah.
underwrite. And that whole like nothing about wholesale is missing the whole scope of the whole scope of real estate. So
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, and I was like, damn, I should have started this, years ago. But
Yeah, I mean, what you just said though about everyone should work in, the restaurant industry, like I totally agree. Like I worked as a busboy. That was one of my more serious. So when I was in high school, I was bar backing and a busboy, and so I would work. I would have school, and then I would have work at like 4 o'clock, and I wouldn't get home till like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, sometimes later, and then I would sleep my first couple classes of the day in school, and then do it all over again. It was like, but I learned how to work. I learned how to manage different tasks. I learned how to like um, talk to customers, and ultimately bust your ass, right? Like
yeah,
people in the restaurant industry grind.
big time.
Um, and so, yeah, you're right. Like wholesaling is like, it's gets you a lot of different skills to build your real estate business. I also agree with flippers. I mean, if you could flip a house, you can just about do anything in real estate. Um, I don't know. I just think to go from flipping houses to like rental properties seems like a pretty good transition. So like that's why actually I've taken a step back from rental properties recently, because like what we were just saying is like um, it's hard to build that rental portfolio when your pipeline dries up, when you're trying to put time and energy into your rentals, and like it, I was just didn't want to have my hands doing too many different things. So I'm selling some rentals off, and then I'm actually going to be focused on wholesaling and some light flips over the next couple months. And then from there, I'll eventually go back to rentals, but it's just like, you know, I gotta learn some things, pick up some skills first,
Yeah,
and
no,
build
I
the
think
team
that's a
out.
good idea. The more you learn, the better understanding you're going to have of the end goal. Making everything make
Yeah.
sense. And I think that's huge for you to learn all these different things, and then put it into like put the puzzles and the piece in the puzzle. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It really helps. So I think that's a
Yeah.
good idea.
So, um, I want to ask you, are you big into reading at all? Do you watch a lot of YouTube videos? Is there, when there's something educational that you feel you're lacking, how are you finding that skill, or how are you learning that?
I would say the biggest way I feel like I learn is through people. You know,
Okay.
I'm definitely not the best reader. I could probably listen to more podcasts, but the way I learn, I think I've come to realize, and this is not by purpose. This is just looking back on it,
Hmm.
is by talking to people like yourself. So when I call
Hmm.
you at like 6 o'clock, just to talk about what's going on and the current
Yeah.
situations and what you're working on, like that's I feel like my way of learning. And I have like a good like
Yep.
group of like 5 or 6 people that we bounce ideas off of. We talk. We see what we're working on. What if they would do something different? If I would do something different, that's my biggest way I think of learning. You know, and but I
Yeah.
mean,
No,
doesn't mean I shouldn't read more or listen to podcasts more. I think I'm missing a big part of what that can bring me out, but it's just part of growing.
yeah. Yeah. Now, where'd you find those people? That kind of environment. Where did you find them?
Well, where did we meet? We met on we met on Instagram, right?
Yeah, I think you probably reached out to me on Instagram or something, and then we kind of
Yeah,
talked from there.
I slid in your DMs. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was funny. But yeah, I mean that worked out great, right? Like Instagram's awesome
Yeah.
for that reason. You can really make a lot of connections on there. So that's how I met you. Um, and then just friends of friends. I met a couple buddies in California that are now like I talk to a lot about real estate. So two of them, and then one of my buddies has a brother, one of them,
Yeah.
and a couple of my brother and my hometown friend Trevor. So Trevor
Mhm.
because obviously we're partnered in that deal. You got us. So
Yeah.
it- a couple of people we just met through word of mouth and you know all different places.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is, some of that was intentional, others was kind of you were just being a little vocal about what you were doing, right? And then some of those people just came to you too, right?
Yeah, yeah. One of the people I actually met with that long ago, two guys that seem to be very successful, in real estate in Long Island, told me that the one of the things they do to really like make connections is just vocalize and socialize the fact that they're in real estate. I never thought about it like that. I always thought like, oh, it might come off like braggadocious or um,
Yeah.
they didn't want to seem like a douche or something. But like if you, once
Yeah.
you like talk to the right person, you come off the correct way. You're not like bragging. Obviously, you kind of just give a little insight to what you're doing. People are intrigued. They want to learn more, and then you might catch someone who's doing the same thing you are, but even more. So I think that was like
Yeah.
really eye opening. It's like anywhere you go, tell people like, hey, I'm into real estate. Like I do real estate on the side. I'm trying to build my portfolio with either like flips or rental properties. If you know anyone that's trying to sell their house, let me know. And that
Yeah.
might lead to someone that is doing the same thing you are or deal. So
Yeah.
that was really cool. I totally agree. With what you
And
said.
ultimately, it's like it's just being kind of your authentic self too. Like, dude, to be honest, like I'd prefer to talk about real estate more often than not. So,
Yeah,
I'll be talking with people who really have nothing to do with real estate, but I'm in a restaurant and I look at the fucking molding and we start talking about it. And it's just like kind of, it just happens naturally. And that's one thing I think if there's anything someone takes away from this discussion today, I think the most important thing is no matter what you want to do, whether it's real estate, doesn't matter, build a freaking laundromat, whatever it may be, um, surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to do or are at least interested in the things you want to do. Because that is super powerful to have this sounding board of a few different people that you can rely on when you're struggling with something like with that build, Matt. You and I had multiple conversations about that, and I remember how your mindset shifted from like, yeah, I don't know if this is really going to work, and like you've gotten more and more confident as it's progressed. And that's great. And it seems like it's a freaking awesome deal. And now you're shifting your whole business to go into that space because you see a massive opportunity. And of course, you should. So I think that's super special to have a group around you of freaking killers who are getting stuff done, whatever it is they're doing, you know?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
totally agree. That's what led me to um, having like my career in medical device which was networking. Yeah, if I didn't network the way I
Yeah.
did in school, there's no way in hell I would have been in the position I am today. So,
Yeah.
I probably owe it all up to people I've met and the connections I made through my networking experiences in college.
Yeah. Matt, what do you consider your superpower to be?
It's a good question. I'd probably say the ability to listen to people and kind of understand their personality. I think I have a good idea of when I
Okay.
talk to someone, you know, what type of person they are and um, you know, what they're looking for. I think I have a really good idea of how to communicate with people and understand like their point of view. If that makes sense, I think I can read people well, and
Okay.
that and just my ability to kind of, you know, out hustle people. I think just like not having like a talent aside, right? You can
Yeah.
always outwork people. You can always put more
Yeah.
work in. You can always wake up earlier. All these things. Um, I think that's what set me apart in the beginning and helped me get to where I am today with my medical device career and even just like real estate. There's people that I've talked to that my buddies that are like, oh, I want to get into real estate, but they told me that in 2021. And they were still saying that. So there's no excuse, right?
Yeah.
You can if you want to do it, do it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's a big part of you know how I got to this point, and probably you too, is that just execution. At the end of the day, if you want
Yeah.
something, go get it. No one's going to stop you. You're your own
Yeah.
competition. At the end of the day, you're not comparing yourself to anyone. You're the only person in the way of you trying to do what you want to do, or complete your goals. It's you. So
Yeah. I think we're definitely similar in that regard. My favorite quote is, I'm sure you've heard me say 100 times, is vision without execution is hallucination. So when your buddy tells you in 2021 he wants to get into real estate, and you're like, yeah, you should do it. And then, now it's 2023 and he still wants to get into real estate, but he's waiting for interest rates to come down or, for someone to hand him a golden platter, a deal on a golden platter. Like, it's just not gonna happen.
yeah,
And one thing I at least from the outside looking in, because I know you fairly well, is like it seems like you're willing to start the execution before you figure out 100% uh how that's going to be implemented.
hmm
And I really think that is special. And I think that is another big takeaway for people to stop overthinking things. Don't be afraid to trust yourself and figure it out as you go.
yeah. I totally agree with that. You need to have a little bit of an idea of what's going on, but at the end of the day, like if you don't execute, you don't act on any of the things that you're trying to, it's never going to turn out to anything. I had a buddy
Yeah,
that when interest rates were really low and the housing market was like on fire, oh, like
yeah,
it's going to cool off, interest rates are going to go up, and the house prices are going to go down. Well, the
yeah,
interest rates have gone up, but the housing prices haven't gone down, and you just never
yeah,
know. So, like the deal I bought in December of 2022, um, at the time that was like I probably bought it like the peak, but looking back, the rate I got and the price that I got, even though I probably overpaid a little bit, it outweighed. So
yeah,
now if I try to buy that same house today at that price point, it'd be like a 60, probably over $600,000 house just based off the rates in the monthly payment. So I don't
yeah,
think any of this is predictable. I think that you can
yeah,
try to estimate the best you can, but at the end of the day, like a deal's a deal. That's what I tell my
yeah,
buddy. Right, a deal is a deal, no matter what economy, what
yeah.
how everything's going. If it makes sense in the cash flows, it's going to make sense in the cash flows now, and then when its rates go down, the rates go up.
Yeah, that's the beauty of real estate is like it really can be, you can build a portfolio, you can build a business in any environment. It is so specific to that deal that it really doesn't matter what's going on in the rest of the world. You could tell me all the statistics, but hey, when I have someone who wants to pay more money than what I purchased this thing for, and I have 50, 100K sitting in equity, and I have people paying my mortgage. It's like, what are we even talking about here?
Hmm.
At the end of the day, what the hell are we even talking
Yeah.
about? Um,
Yeah.
so that's how I always push back. Like, listen, I have someone paying 3 times my mortgage, and they're going to be there for the next year, and I have 50 to 100K in equity. Like, I don't see the concern. Um, but Matt, so if you want to, I know you got to get going. So one, I guess one last thing that you would leave the audience with, maybe speak to someone who is trying to get into building their own business. Maybe they don't, for whatever reason, they haven't done it yet.
Hmm.
Talk to them.
Yeah, I would say the biggest part is to educate yourself first, right? You don't want to jump into anything that you don't have, you know, any knowledge in. You want to at least have it
Yeah.
make the groundwork for, or you build the groundwork for what could possibly be. So, learn from people, um, study up, and then once you have a good understanding of what it is that you're trying to do or what it is that you're going to do, then create a plan, right? It's all about goals. Don't just be like, okay,
Yeah.
I want to go up and I want to do this without having any
Yeah.
type of goal. You have a 30, 60 day, 90 plan. So 30 days, 60 days, 90 plan. What do I want to be at the end of those stages? Where am I going to be? And then how am I going to get there? I think it's really
Okay.
important, especially for someone like myself who can sometimes lose concentration or, you know, uh, not have the best time management when there's a lot going on. It's
Yeah.
important to be able to delegate time and understand where you should be at certain given points. Because if you're not, then you're going to be like floating in the wind, lost. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like have goals, and if you don't have goals, then have an idea of where you want to be. Where you should be um, at any given time.
Yeah. Now, so you write your goals down or at least think of them in a 30, 60, 90-day span.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. And I just keep kind of repeating that.
Okay.
I mean, I have long term goals as well, but I think that like so much can change in between now and long term that I don't really like thinking about the long term too much because you can only predict them so much. 30 to 60,
Yeah.
90-day goals, you can predict them very, very like down to the T if you execute, right? So
Yeah.
that is huge. That's huge. That's how
Yeah.
I operate.
I like that. Okay. Um, yeah, I think about my goals in like a 3 and a 6 month time span.
Hmm.
Um, and that just allows me because, some like the whole 5 year plan thing's great and all, but like you said, is like, things change, you
Hmm.
see opportunities, like I'm sure a few years ago you didn't really think you were going to be building land. I mean,
Yeah.
building houses on land. So, and purchasing land. So that's like, I like to be a little flexible in that regard. But one thing I always try and be conscious of too is, not necessarily reinventing the wheel every 36, every 3 months or whatever it is. Just so I don't have shiny object syndrome,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's one thing that I don't want people to get wrapped up in is just thinking, oh, now I did this, but how about trying this? And I get caught up in that.
Hmm.
So,
I agree.
but with that, Matt, let's call it a day. Where can people find you and reach out to you?
Yeah, they can find me at probably on my Instagram is the best way to go about. If you want to reach out, shoot me a DM. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation at Matt MATT and then Puleo Puleo. Just
Okay.
basic.
Yeah, awesome. And shoot you a DM and you'll get back to them.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Okay, awesome. And my Instagram is at Leun. Um, Same thing. You can shoot me a DM. More than happy to help. Um, and plan a call and talk things through with you. But with that being said, man, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk soon. All right, Matt.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Take care, man.
All right. See you.
Have a good one.